us your name, what position and district are you running for, and your background and how it qualifies you for County Commissioner.
My name is Anthony Penland, and I'm running for Buncombe County Commissioner in District 1. And I have, for 32 years, I have served this county as a public servant in the fire service. And I want to take that same passion I have that I've shown the citizens of this county doing that to the commission.
Okay. Why are you running for County Commissioner, and what are your main goals if elected?
Well, one of the things I want to make sure is that it's a job of government to protect its citizens, not run their lives. And for, like I said, 32 years, I've been doing that. And I'll take that same stuff to the commission.
What are your views on the county's current budget or level of public debt?
I've worked with the county as far as the budget that we have, and I'd have to look into it to see where the debt is and compare it to what is being brought in. And we really just want to make sure that our budget takes care of our core services. We've got to take care of those men and women who serve the citizens.
Do you agree with defunding the police?
Absolutely not. Now, I have the opportunity to work with sheriff's deputies in my position in the fire service. And no, I can tell you, I don't think we have enough deputies patrolling the county our size as it is.
What are your views on homelessness in Asheville, and how do you feel it has currently been handled? Your views on homelessness in Asheville, and how do you feel like it's been handled?
Well, I mean, I think we need to dive down and see what's causing the homelessness. I think that what's the biggest issue is the crimes that come with that, but not all of our homeless people use drugs and are committing crimes. So let's dive down and see exactly what that is, and then see how we can help. But we just can't just throw a bunch of money to it and put them up in places, because you can't just put somebody in a hotel room and think that's going to help them. Right. You know, they got to have interaction. You know, living on the streets is tough, but I think we ought to see if we can dive down into it and see what's causing it.
Okay, and as part of that question, what are your thoughts on low barrier shelters, camping, panhandling, and the needle program? And how would you move forward on those issues if elected?
Here's the thing, on my way over here, I got to thinking that if I stopped at a red light and I threw a bottle out of my car in the presence of a law enforcement officer, I'd be charged with littering and fined $250, I believe. So how can we allow people just to put a tent up somewhere and throw their trash everywhere? Homelessness is one of those things where if you're homeless, let's see what the reason is, but you don't have to trash the place.
What are your strategies for reducing the exceedingly high crime rates in Asheville and Buncombe County?
Making sure that we have more police that when they go out and they arrest people, that we've got people that's not up there letting them out. You know, a crime's a crime, whether it's a low-level crime, mid-level, whatever the case may be. Now, there's some, we could probably write some citations for some of the crimes, but if someone commits a crime and the police officer out here doing his job, risking his life to bring someone to justice, the last thing we need is people just to get out because someone says they can.
Would you consider reconsidering some of the current grants to nonprofits that have no accountability? For example, the needle program, who will give out needles but not receive them back, and so therefore they end up all over the community, but they are funded by city funds. Would you be willing to look into that and reconsider where those funds go if there were no accountability?
I had the opportunity in 2020 to serve on the Buncombe County Commission, and one of the questions that I had asked was the nonprofits that we give money to, is there any accountability to see if that money were given to them? In my profession, when we get a grant from the federal government, the Assistance to Firefighter grant, we have a 6-month report that has to be done. And if you don't spend that money within the year of the time frame, there's a good chance you won't get a grant again, and they could ask for that money back. So we have to hold people accountable. If we're going to give people money to do a program, we got to check into that, and we need a report. And it doesn't have to be reports once a year from everybody, but throughout the year, we need to have a report from every nonprofit that we have. My job in the fire service, we have to report our money to the county, do an audit, and so everybody should do the same thing. If we're giving other people's money, and we need to see if the program's working. If the program is not working, let's don't get taxpayer money and start another program. Let's shift the money that the programs aren't working to other programs that are working. But there has to be accountability for the money that's being given out.
Do you support the new service that has been implemented to relieve APD of calls for people overdosing? It's like the the ambulance service, it's the EMS, the community EMS service.
Here's in my job, we respond to overdoses. I've had 2 firefighters assaulted. Once the Narcan was administered, the person came up and assaulted 2 of our firefighters. My policy is we don't go into a drug overdose without law enforcement. So now while I can support the community paramedic program, I can't support it in place of sending police officers. The police officers really aren't there. They're there really to protect the first responders. And I'll go ahead and tell you from what we've seen in the last maybe year or so, it's the officers who are carrying Narcan that are administering their Narcan before the first responders even get there. So now, in the county, you've got these 2 paramedic programs. I don't know where they're stationed. Well, I think one's at West Buncombe, one's downtown. But someone overdosing in Broad River, that community paramedic is not going to get there. In the city, yes. In the county, probably not going to make it till after everything is done.
How will you further support our school system both financially and in regard to safety, considering there were needles found on the school bus at Oakley Elementary, which is still yet to be addressed?
Well, I'm a product of Buncombe County Schools, and I'm a graduate of Owen High School. And I feel like that our teachers are heroes. They have been for the last 2 years, and we need to support those teachers, and we need to support our schools and make sure that they're strong, they're vibrant, and that they're safe. All my children are grown, and when a parent sends their child to one of our schools, they need to know that they're going to be protected. And if the needle is found, the top priority now is to investigate that and see where it came from. It has to be, because if someone left it there and there's no consequence, they think they get away with it, so what do they do the next time? They do it again, then they do it again. So they have to be found, and there has to be consequences for that.
Are county taxes too high, about right, or pleasantly low? And how would you go forward based on your answer? Do you plan to implement any changes to existing taxes?
You have to look at what's there and what the services are, and if you can, if you're happy with those services, and you can look at that. I can't answer that question and say I'm going to lower taxes because I don't know till you get there. But what I am going to do is I'm going to make sure that our core services, police, fire, EMS, health and human services, our justice center, that those things have the money to make sure that our citizens are protected.
If new resources were available, what one area of county services would you feel most needs those additional resources?
Our sheriff's office. We have, from what I hear, we have about 14 deputies that are there on a squad. So if they're all working that day, that's 14 deputies covering 600 square miles minus the municipalities. So when you take these deputies and you put them in training, or you give a vacation, or right now, currently, some of them are going to the hospital to guard prisoners. Well, guess what? There's days where we've had six deputies covering our county. Unsafe for our citizens, unsafe for deputies. When you have deputies that are answering 15 calls by themselves, unsafe. So we have additional funding, we need more deputies, and we need to pay them.
Should any part of the county budget be shielded from cuts, and if so, which area?
Would you ask that again, please?
Which part of the county budget should be shielded from cuts, and if so, what area?
Public safety.
There's a lot of controversy around the issue of Raytheon. What are your thoughts on the project and that controversy, how the commission handled the vote, and how would you have handled the situation had you been in office at the time?
I was in office when that was brought in.
Okay.
It's the job of our commission to bring in good jobs, good paying jobs. Now, what those jobs do, what they make, that's, and what they're used for, that's something we need to make sure that we have good paying jobs for our citizens. One of the questions that I did ask was that when they said they took the average salaries, my question was, I'd like to make sure that you don't take the top management and the worker and average those two salaries together, because that's going to skew that average salary. So let's take the people who are working. And another thing I wanted to make sure is, because when they came in here, they were closing some other plants across the country. I want to make sure that the 1,000 jobs they're going to create are 1,000 jobs for Buncombe County citizens, not 100 jobs for our citizens because they brought 900 more from other parts of the country.
Buncombe County utilizes faith-based programs as well as nonprofits. How do you feel that's worked so far?
I am a devout Christian, so any faith-based program is going to get my support.
Okay. There are many community members who would like transparency regarding how nonprofits spend the taxpayer-funded grants. Would you support nonprofits being required to open their books by line item to the taxpayers? Why or why not? And I think you spoke to this, but let's just get it on record for...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we are using other people's money, and whoever we're giving it to, a nonprofit or even a county services, if there's no transparency of where that money's going, then that's a mistrust, and we can't do that. We have to know and get back to the fact that it's got to be people that we serve. We have to make sure that they know that. And I am not about hiding anything. I'm not about doing things behind the wall and then coming out and talking about it. If we're going to talk about things, it needs to be done in open session so people can see where we stand on the issues.
And final question, and then we'll go to a final thought. Should the county be encouraging building or development, and how would you influence that either way?
I want to, basically, yes, I think we need to, if there's going to be development, because we know that's going to happen. All you got to do is go outside these walls and see the beauty of this area. And so we know that's going to happen, but it's got to be smart. It's got to be done by the rules that are set in place. And let's work with developers. Let's work with them to entice them to, hey, can we come in and do this type of development here? And let's work with them and make sure it's smart and we don't take away our picturesque views, you know. So.
Yes. All right. What would you like to leave us with on a final thought? Something to tell the voters?
I want the voters to know I'm a sports nut. I love sports, and I've always been a big fan of Lou Holtz. And I try to live by what Lou Holtz, he's got three things. You know, I'm going to do what's right, and I want people to know I'm going to give it my best. But I also want you to know I'm going to care. I want to care about the people, because sometimes I think we are forgetting who we are serving. I have a servant's heart, and that's all I want to do is I want to serve the citizens of this county to the best of my ability.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.